Yeah, right. We are recording. So yeah, Dead Rising 3, it left me with an odd number of videos. So, as is my usual, gonna try to make it even with some Viscera cleanup detail. The next worksite is Unearthly Excavation. It says it's gonna be 2.5 hours long. I might not be doing all this today. We'll have to see. As usual though, I will be running some of the YouTube music, free library music stuff, instead of the game music, because if nothing else, it gets me more variety, and I don't have to worry about copyright claims. Yay! That does make my life easier. Yeah, I'll just get the. Let me turn it down a little bit. I'll just get the music going, get in, and get going. Oh, the last of these videos, by the way, I did, yeah, I need to look around and find stuff. I tried using the source record extension for OBS, which is good. An extension that could be very helpful, but it seemed to work fine for this, but when I looked at it, I used it in a different game, in Dead Rising 3, it was no longer reliable, so yeah. The idea is it will let you... Okay. The idea is it will let you record multiple things all at the same time. Maybe that's not what you do. I was assuming that was the incinerator equivalent. I could be wrong. It's like there's not much else here. I mean, what am I missing? I need the door code. I also need the oh, I've got to start the timer. There you go. I've got to start the thing over. But anyway, yeah, going back. I know I get distracted with that. The while the source record concept is great, 795. That ability to just open, to just have one instance of OBS record everything. It was producing files of the wrong length. So that meant it wasn't actually usable. Is there an incinerator? If there isn't, then it's gotta be those. Oh, here we go. Perfect. That's just a flare. I shouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah, the fact that the speeds are different for some of the videos, that the lengths are different, it's unusable. But at least on the bright side for me, I have seen some other people reporting that problem, so it's like, at least I know it's not just me. So hopefully will be fixed. Now, I don't really like that I'm not cleaning yet, but I'll get there. I mean, it's just because of the distance between here and the buckets. And that I wasn't even sure how it worked. Like, if it is, there's no incinerator, you're just supposed to use the pits, the Sarlacc pit thing. So, I'm just trying to think, what is it? I tend to talk about some tech news stuff. And I'm actually going to tune down my headphones. Ooh, there we go. I tend to talk about those types of things, which I don't remember was if the Windows 11 stuff was before or after the last one, the last video. Well, in any case, I can talk about it, especially since I did see another thing today that apparently somebody at Microsoft said, yeah, we know it sucks that there's hardware that's still fairly modern that won't be supported because we're, demanding certain requirements. But we're not changing those requirements. And for those of you that don't know what that is referring to, Microsoft has for Windows 11 they've shared some of the system requirements it's going to have. And among them are some security stuff like Secure Boot, but also TPM, Trusted Platform Manager, I think is what it's called. Something like that. I'm looking for numbers for the door code, I don't see it. So, the thing is that TPM is like, it's not really needed for any consumer. And things like the Ryzen 1000 series, which would also include the Threadripper 1950X I'm using right now, don't support it. Well, actually, the Threadripper might. I don't quite remember, but you need to go to the Ryzen 2000 series to have support. And was it the 8000 series or the 9000 series that you have to go to on Intel? The Core 8000 or 9000. The 7000 series doesn't. I do remember that being the case. So, like, the legendary 7700K, it can't go to Windows 11. And it's just, I wish I knew why. I think a lot of people just wish that Microsoft would give the explanation for why they're making those requirements. I mean, I could believe, what I'd like to believe, is that it's for virtualization stuff. Because you do want deeper platform type security if you're doing a lot of virtualization. And it would be neat if Windows 11 did leverage certain capabilities of virtualization more so. I mean, this probably isn't what they'd go to, but some people have talked about the idea of ultimately running a machine, running computers, where you have like a host operating system that's Linux or something like that, that is very stable and offers certain benefits, and then everything else, because not too many games, many, but not too many, games natively run on Linux. So if you want that, you'd have to run Windows or something. So the idea would be you then just virtualize Windows for that. Level 1 Techs actually had a video not too long ago, more or less showing that, where Wendell of that had managed to have enough seamless. Oh, okay, that is. Enough seamless Windows, seamless virtualization stuff in there that you basically could achieve exactly that, which is pretty neat. Now, I don't think that Microsoft would go to that kind of setup, where it's a host Linux with Windows running on top of that, virtualized, but I could see them potentially deciding to do something similar in that it's a Windows host and other Windows virtualizations in there. But I don't know, that's pure speculation, and they haven't said anything about doing something like that. If it's gore, I'll feed it to the thing. It's a freaking lightsaber. But personally, for a lot of stuff that they showed, it does not impress me at all. For Windows 11, it's like, I don't care for the visual presentation. It's like, why are we trying to impersonate Mac? It's like, you're Windows. Competition is you distinguish yourself. Competition isn't you try to look like the other thing. It's like, I got it. It's getting so horrible up there. Whoop, no. I remember to try doing it, it's just I really don't want to do it. If they're filthy, definitely, but it's, I want to be careful. I definitely see how this would be 2.5 hours. This is a large map with plenty to do, and also just how things are spread out. At some point, I really should do another audio surf video so that I can start, so that I can have more of the more music for these. Okay, maybe I'll do that if this turns out an even number. So something else I can talk about that's kind of sort of tech related, because these videos should be out late enough that it'll be good. I've talked previously, I'm pretty sure I have, about the custom mechanical keyboard stuff that I've been doing. Well, it was recent, as in a couple weekends ago, that I finally did switch lubrication. And I haven't talked too much about the specifics of that, leaving that for like a more proper Switch review, like after the switches have settled some with the lubricant there. But I mean, this video should be coming out well after that, so I don't mind talking about it. Boy, it makes a difference. So, for sound at least. The feeling, yeah, it's there, but it's more so the sound that jumped out at me. I mean, these switches, the JWK unlubed, oh, they can't even unlubed, linears that I got from one of keyboards, and they gave me a discount to support doing the review, so I did purchase them, but it was at a discount, and they came unlubed, and they were already fairly smooth, so I don't know how much benefit I got from lubricating them on that front. But I lubricate them, I then, install, well, I basically pulled them out of the keyboard and then did a row at a time lubricating them. put them in, and it's like the sound. You can also get these dampened, and I do have those. So they're silent linears, and it's like these are the non-silent ones that I lubricated. They sound like they're silent. That they sound so much like the silent ones. They're not obviously not dampened. They don't have them. Have the silicone on there for that. They're not that quiet, but it's like, I guess a way to put it would be they're on the order of magnitude of the dampened, which in my opinion is very impressive. Now that being said, it still is what I put, because I did write up about doing the lubrication. I stand by what I said there, that in my opinion it's situational, because there are some people that it seems they will just always, like they're putting together a keyboard and they have switches, they're just instantly going to spend the time to lubricate them. They're not like going to try them first, see how they are. No, they'll just lubricate them. And I understand doing that. I mean, if you can consistently change the sound that much with lubrication, I get it. I like the sound. But it's like there's certainly switches where I don't feel the need for that. It's fine. But yeah, oh man. So I am looking forward to the lubricating the dampened ones, the silent linear, to see how much quieter I can get that. But then that's also going to be a little bit more involved. So I guess explaining exactly what the process is for lubrication. There are 3 main physical pieces to, well, okay, 4, yeah, count the spring, to a mechanical switch. There's the top housing, the bottom housing, the stem, and then the spring. And lubricating it can make it smoother, especially in the case of the stem. But it's also... Damn. It's all so... Boy, flashlight would be nice right now. So the stem, it's the piece that actually moves up and down, and it moves up and down, along, like, rails in the bottom housing. So if you're lubricating for smoothness, that, I think, is where you'd be focusing. There's also the leg that separates the metal leaves that actually, and these are also in the bottom housing, that these are what actually produce the closed circuit registering key press. And in theory, you can lubricate the leg as well. I don't think that that's so necessary. Not that I have much experience to really weigh in on that question. And these are linears, so it's like you can do it, but I tried doing it and said I didn't notice anything. And it just, left me nervous about having too much or too little. But I did, on one switch, lubricate the legs specifically, and then on another switch didn't, and I couldn't do it. But as I said, these linears are already pretty smooth, so, it's... Maybe it's just a poor sample for doing that. You wouldn't want to lubricate a tactile switch on the legs, though, because that's what actually gives the tactile. But yeah, so for feel, you'd lubricate the stem and the bottom, the rails of the bottom housing. But also, obviously, for noise. If you have... Springs can also make noise, give you some spring pain, which on the dampen, and that's why I'm talking about this, on the dampened switches, the switch action itself, the stem moving up and down and striking the base of the bottom housing, bottoming out, that it is very quiet, which I like. But the noise of the springs I can hear, at least on some of them. It's not so bad on all the springs. So my plan then is when I lubricate those, I will take the time, I will put in the effort to lubricate the springs as well. Which I didn't bother with these linears, because I figured they're not going to be so quiet. Well, I checked, it was wrong, but my thinking was that they're not going to be... Damn. They're not going to be so quiet that's like I need to do. And in a way I wasn't wrong. I haven't noticed any spring noise from them, but it is also there. I'll also be filming the dampen switches. I prefer to say dampen, by the way, just because that's what it is. That's what you're doing. It's sort of like the difference between a gun silencer versus a suppressor. Because it's like you don't actually make a gun silent. You don't actually make a switch silent. What you're doing is you're suppressing the noise. You're dampening them. And I know that's kind of pedantic, but it is also somewhat accurate. But it's also, you would call in switches the piece of rubber or silicone, more likely an artificial rubber. You would call it a damper. You wouldn't call it a silencer. But yeah, so I do plan on lubricating those springs as well. And for anyone wondering, it's like what lubricant for the stem and housing portions, I'm using some Crytox 205G0 that was provided by one of the keyboards. This is a while ago with the original stuff that I got from them. And it's like, you can buy a GMK screen stabilizers from them and have it include that. And that's what I have. But for the springs, I'm going to use some dielectric grease, like what you can use to lubricate stabilizers, actually. You do want to use an appropriate lubricant for whatever it is you're trying to lubricate. Just in general, you want to do that. I looked it up, and it's like some other people were doing it, and it does make sense that it would work. That you could use it, but I've not actually seen it do that before. Alright then, guess this is to be disposed of. And the funny thing is, I was even thinking that, that would actually be a good effect, that you put some gore in here and it spoils it. Because I thought I've done that before and never seen that happen. So I'm just gonna get a drink of water. Let me grab it. I did say I'd be filming the switches as well, which is not like I'm recording the process. I've already done stuff like that. I've already done that process. But no, you can get these small, properly shaped pieces of plastic that you put between the top and bottom housing, so that if there is any gap there, the idea is you're taking that out so that the top and bottom housings can't move as much against each other, and therefore it should make the action silent, quieter. I don't think it's actually necessary, but it's part of my reasonable extreme. That's how I've been trying to handle the keyboard stuff, is You know, it's like, is this a reasonable thing that somebody would do, lubricating switches? Yeah, I think it is. So it's within that idea, where it's like, it is kind of extreme, but it's reasonable that people would do this. Like, people just interested and not dedicated to the hobby. As opposed to, say, hand-wiring a build. That is an unreasonable extreme to me. Also, Franken switches. Though that's unreasonable to me. Yeah. I think I would be okay, though, with the idea of changing springs. You know, like, ordering the springs and changing them. It's like, yeah, to me, it's like, that's not necessarily the same thing as literally buying 2 different switches and taking them both apart to arrive at a different switch. But it's like, you know, it's like, that's too much, but just changing out the springs, I can... It's actually a part of me that would that is kind of tempted to do that, to just, you know, like, take switches that I currently have, and just see how they would be if the switch springs, if the springs were, heavier or lighter. Okay, I have a feeling that's all I'm getting out of that. Magnet or a crap, now I can't remember what they're called. I think that comes with a lot of boots. The little flat thing. Dustpan. There we go. It would be so nice if the game had one. But hey, I haven't looked for a while, but Runestorm did say that they do have plans for the future. I'm looking forward to that. I seriously, legitimately am looking forward to it. This game is fun, and I do feel that it still has so much potential. So seeing a sequel to it, or a remake of it, well, no, it shouldn't be a remake. It should be more on the level of a sequel. Just because I feel you need to, you know, basically build in progression systems for unlocking new tools, enhancing what tools you got. I mean, too bad I probably couldn't get a job with them for a couple reasons. One is I do have experience in game development. I honestly and truly do, but I don't think anybody cares. Because it's never really gotten me. But also, I think they're in Europe. And I don't even have a passport. So I'm not sure how I would get a visa to move and work. And also, it would be a bit extreme to move, not even just, you know, across a country or continent, but to a completely different. I think this might. And I really should look, you know, when I finish this part, I think I will look up the map. Because I feel like there might be more to it than just, we got solid. That occasionally belch. Because we got all those shovels. Are they just there as decoration, or is there something more? I'm certain soil, by the way. Just any. I was just wondering if there were any good smalls I could grab. Don't really see them. Not without going into where producing footprint. I talked about this other thing that I've been working on for weeks now, because hopefully I will have it done by the time this video will go live. But even then, it's also, nobody watches any of these videos, so, you know, what does it matter? And to be fair, I'd probably still say nobody watches this stuff, even if I did have like 1 million subscribers and 2 million regular viewers, it's like, no, I'd probably still say it. Because also for some of this stuff, it's like, why would somebody watch this? If I wasn't doing it alone, I could understand. Because then it's like, you got somebody to rip off of. But, I am alone. I don't have friends. And my situation doesn't really allow me to have friends. I'm a very miserable person. Anyway, the thing I've been working on, and I know I've talked about some of this stuff before, but it's been weeks or months since I would have talked about it. Some scripts I put together for regularly loading. Initially it was for CPUs. Like it'll load up Cinebench, run it for a solid hour, and record various performance metrics for that full time, and also a time after and time before. So you get idle behavior, load, and then high load behavior, and then back to idle behavior to see like how things cool down. I think it's interesting. I also set that up for GPUs. And going through the GPU stuff, I've been making some changes and some additions, such as having it actually small gore here. Having frame time recorded with PresentMon. And that is interesting. And having some other tricks in there. Like, with this, using linear models, linear regression to find the slope to things, although there are some issues with that. What's some of the other little tricks I've done akin to that, though? I'm trying to remember. I know I've done some. Time series, yeah, that's right. I set up the time series graphs, which... My relationship to time series is this. I know they exist. And that R can do them. And that would be it. Now, I do kind of basically understand their function, but that doesn't mean I understand well enough to well explain. That's not going to stop me. But it's so interesting to do this. So, just trying to think, what would be... Yeah, I guess maybe that would work. Imagine you run a restaurant and you want to get some statistics for people coming to your restaurant. Well, like you have the statistics you want to process it. You know, seeing like how many people you try to plot it out to see people customers coming to your restaurant. Okay, and so you just have sale receipts by, let's just say, date. Okay, just by date, not by like time of day, but just by date. Although you could also do time. Now, week to week, you can expect some consistency, right? And like you would expect to see that, yeah, on Fridays there's an increase. On Mondays, maybe not so much. But Fridays may stand out because like people going out on dates or just it's the end of the week, we're treating themselves kind of thing. Why did I do that? I don't know why. I just like completely blanked as I dropped that. Well, if you did a time series, what it would be able to do is find that seasonality, that pattern that is just by the week, and show it to you, and then like show you the actual trend beneath. So you'd be able to see then in theory, let's say that you have a steady increase week to week of 10%. The trend would show that even though the seasonality at least it wouldn't be very clear because you see the peak on Fridays and then Monday comes down. Well, Saturday might be good. So the weekend is good, but weekdays aren't so good. That would be capturing seasonality, whereas the trend tells you the trend. And just the usefulness of that. And it's like, well, with frame time data, for a benchmark that just repeats for a solid hour, the benchmark has ups and downs to its performance. That's the seasonality. But seeing, like, does the GPU slow down because it heats up? That's the trend. So having graphs for that is kind of neat, because it does expose then things such as the the boosting algorithm, which I actually need to go back and add that kind of stuff to the CPU. It might be interesting to see the CPU scripts. I only have it in the GPU at the moment. But it's also interesting to look at because just in AMD and NVIDIA are quite different in that regard. Where it's like, and I haven't looked too intently at the graphs yet because I'm still working through an article, a portion of the article talking about the scripts. But it looks like with AMD, clock speed is a function more so of temperature. So it's like the clock speed came down over time because the temperature went up. Whereas with oh man, that is awful over there. Whereas with NVIDIA, it seems like it actually has more like a CPU boosting approach. You know what? Yeah, let me in it. And what I mean by that is CPU, it will boost very high at the start and then come down. The thinking being that finish the task, rush to finish the task because that will overall be more efficient because you spent more energy to do it in that short burst, but that would be less energy than spent if you went for the entire, for like say 5 minutes instead of getting it done in just 1 minute without boosting. And I see this on the NVIDIA GPUs. It's like, why? It doesn't make any sense to me to boost like that for a GPU because you can expect to be using them at load for hours. So that is something that I do think that I'm going to be writing up in this article, and I do think will make the article interesting. But I do need to actually get there. It's going to take a while. I'm trying to get back, by the way, to the Slosh-O-Matic. Give myself a path. Because I do feel that is something worth people being aware of, that the boosting method is different. So it's also then something. I remember when AMD announced the 5000 series, the RX 5000 series, and they introduced this game clock concept, where the suggestion, the idea to it is that this is the clock speed you can actually expect the GPU to run at on average one game. And I know that people kind of laughed at that. It's like, oh, so you're saying that it can't achieve the maximum boost clock? It's like, well, yeah, but that's always the case. Like NVIDIA isn't, their GPUs aren't achieving and keeping the maximum boost clock for an arbitrary length of time in an arbitrary game. There's always some variability. But I do think it's interesting that AMD is now marketing on that, because it's like, well, you look at their boosting. Look at their boosting data that I have here. It's like, well, that's how they boost. They basically find the appropriate frequency and stay at that as well as they can until, like, there's too much heat, and then it throttles itself down a little. So it's no longer so hot. I think it is based more so on thermal than anything else. And it's like, that's a significantly different behavior from NVIDIA, where it seems like, for the first minute or so, or more like 5 minutes actually, although it does depend on the GPU. I've got one where it's like, no, that probably was a minute that it had before it just stopped, it gave up, and went down to a lower non-boosted state. And it's like, that's quite different. And it is just the whole gaming strategy makes more sense. It seems to be more, in my opinion, I would describe it more opportunistic. It's like it sees that, oh, I can run at this clock speed, I'll run at this clock speed, as opposed to more determinative, where it's like, or rather budget-based, I should say. Which that's how a CPU works. CPU works with boosting, with a boost budget, where it is allowed to expend so much energy, take so much thermal energy, use so much electrical energy before it's like, okay, now I have to, go back to within spec. Although the boosts are all within spec, but yeah, I hope you understand what I mean. Yep, that was the time. And I do think that is an interesting thing and worth looking into and factoring into decisions as far as which one to get. Alright, I'm just pulling up the right folders. There it is. And yeah, so I will see you next time for part 2. I don't know what I'll talk about then. I might also just not say much. Sometimes that happens with me as well. Alright, see you then. Oh, and don't forget, I'll pull up the wiki on this thing just to see if there's any other quirks to it. Besides, it's like, or just an explanation for the Sarlacc pits. It's like, are we supposed to do something with them? Are we not? We'll find out. See you then.